welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, football has just lost an icon. That's the rightful narrative in nearly every country on planet Earth. Yes, even in Mozambique. And I'm not even convinced they have the internet over there. But I live in England, I'm surrounded by the British media, so the reaction to the sad and untimely passing of a 60-year-old Maradona, arguably one of the greatest footballers of all time, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. British tabloid newspapers leading with such an inflammatory photo as this. I might be wrong, but to me it doesn't look like you're paying tribute to a world champion here. Instead, these photos are just gonna rile up the same feelings of anger and resentment in Big Bob down the pub. You know, just bringing up traumatic memories as a child. A 50-year-old man seeing this photo down the pub, it'd be like someone showing me a photo of my parish priest from my altar boy days. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but just a suggestion, why not show an image of him lifting the World Cup above his head? Or winning the Italian Scudetto with Napoli? You know, actual footballing achievements, instead of bringing up his indiscretions. I mean, when Tiger Woods dies, are we gonna lead with a photo of him winning the US Open? Or a photo of him in bed with 6 ladies of the night? Are we forgetting Lionel Messi has scored a handball as well against Espanyol in 2007? This was a perfect moment for the English media to put it behind them and show some respect to a footballing god and to just move on. Christ, well, if I can forgive my own mother for buying me a box of the Mrs. Brown Boys for Christmas, then you can forgive Maradona for something he did in 1986. But no, instead, the headline greeting the death of another human being is just stirring up another debate about VAR. Listen, as always, when you feel cheated about anything, it's always easy to point the blame. Yes, Maradona shouldn't have used his arm, but maybe, instead of crying about it for 40 years, maybe Peter Shilton should ask himself, why was he being outjumped by a 5'4" hobbit in the first place? Maradona was a great footballer, but he was the height of a postbox. I'm convinced he wouldn't have been able to reach the top shelf in Asda. This guy is smaller than Kevin Hart. He's only 12 inches taller than Tyrion Lannister. I'm sorry, but if you are a goalkeeper who is being outjumped by a footballer who is a single banana taller than the Game of Thrones dwarf, you should probably toss your goalkeeping gloves in a bin. Actually, is it even a jump? His left foot has barely left the ground. He's on his tippy toes. Christ above, this is a World Cup, not a ballet recital. Listen, I understand why Shilton is bitter all these years later. It's not towards the cunning of Maradona. It's not even towards the referee, who clearly had the spatial awareness of Stevie Wonder. No. Deep down, he's just frustrated with himself, because he's a World Cup goalkeeper who was actually outjumped by a guy smaller than Harry Potter. And yes, I know, my relationship with Thierry Henry is about as healthy as the chaser's relationship with food. Listen, solely blaming Thierry Henry and his left hand, that would be a very narrow reflection of the situation. I mean, before the handball, I didn't have any predisposed hatred towards the man. I always loved watching him play. I had no discrimination against him or his left hand. Christ above, some of the best times of my life were in the bath with the left hand. Didn't say whose left hand it was. No, I have enough self-awareness to realise that Paul McShane should have cleared the ball. Actually, not only should Paul McShane have cleared the ball, Paul McShane should have been stuck on the couch in his home back in County Wicklow, watching the game on TV 3 hours before his night shift at Costa Coffee. But I also realised Henry wasn't entirely to blame, and that yes, both the referee and the linesman should arguably have been forced to spend that summer milking cows and cleaning up sheep diarrhea on a lumpy bog out the back arse of County Sligo. If we couldn't go to the World Cup, then neither should you.
He's in the hands of God. England's World Cup nemesis and one of the all-time greats.
That sounds like a tribute fitting for any tombstone. If that's how things go, then I guess when this paper eventually stops existing, their eulogy will read,
Liverpool fans' mortal enemy and long-running British Broad Street for over 50 years. Diego Maradona was shaking the hand of God last night.
Seriously, lads, where is the respect shown for arguably one of the top 3 footballers of all time?
R.I.P. the eternal flawed genius, now safe in the hands of God.
It's like they can't help themselves. Christ above. You would have thought over 3 decades is long enough to heal some wounds. Listen, I'm sure there's no malice involved. If anything, it was just a cheeky reference. But when paying tribute to a generational talent who's tragically died young, is it really appropriate to then immediately dig up one of the lowest points of his career? Christ above, when Gary Lineker one day sadly passes on, you're not gonna find me stuck on Twitter that night, wondering how I can sneak in a reference to him voiding his bowels on the pitch.
Football great Maradona has died age 60 after a heart attack. He was one of the game's best ever played and won the World Cup with Argentina in 1986. But he was slammed for his hand-up goal against England in the quarter-final.
2 paragraphs. That's how far we got. 2 paragraphs and 31 words. That's how much of a tribute Maradona was allowed before someone brought up the handball. Good Christ! Imagine if someone turned up to any one of these journalists' funerals 25 years down the line.
Great friend, loving father of two, spectacular journalist, but he also left the toilet seat up and kept the corpses of both grandparents in his freezer.
Is this how far modern day football tribalism has gone? In 50 years, when Peter Crouch extends the further 6 feet into the clouds, I just know we're gonna have angry Trinidadians talking about how he pulled Brendan Sancho's hair at the World Cup.
The man's a cheat, always was, always will be, goodbye. Cheats never prosper. Stop with your Maradona was a legend nonsense. He was a horrible little cheat. You all hated him in 86. Stay with your principles here. Hypocrites. As an Englishman, I won't be mourning his death. Genius or not, he was a cheat, and Argentina wouldn't have won without his antics. Not a legend to me. Cheat and ruined my childhood. But condolences to his family and friends. R.I.P. Maradona, but I can't ever forget.
Ruined your childhood because you lost a World Cup quarter-final when you were 13 years of age. Yeah, try spending every Christmas Eve not waiting for Santa like your schoolmates, but instead hiding behind your uncle's dishwasher. Then we can talk about ruined childhoods, Mark. Lads, it's been 34 years. At the risk of sounding like the anorexic frozen princess who clearly had a weird fetish for castrated snowmen, then
let it go.
And if you're saying,
oh, it defined his legacy. How could we not mention it?
with ease. Look at the front page of La Gazzetta dello Sport. No handball, just Maradona kissing the World Cup trophy. In France's L'Equipe, again, not even a hint towards the handball. But in England, you can't move for reminders. Is that truly all he is to you? A cheat whose entire sporting legacy was defined by one moment. If it is, that's kind of sad. Christ above, this is a 6-year-old father of 5 with a body of work that extends far wider than just one cheeky punch at a World Cup quarter-final. In the same way, Zidane's legacy isn't just driving a skull into Marco Materazzi's chest. Christ above, all you need to do is look 5 minutes after that handball against England for arguably the greatest goal ever scored. Why focus on the handball? The second strike he scored that day, that should be his defining moment. That is utter genius. Listen, my anger towards Henry is because he never fully owned the crime. If you're gonna be the villain, go all out and be the villain. Embrace it. Maradona is like something out of James Bond. A bad guy hell-bent on world domination. Christ above, he played up to this caricature. This is a guy who'd probably have chucked his cat in a microwave if it meant getting 3 points on the weekend.
The truth is that I don't for a second regret scoring that goal with my hand.
The British media have spent decades begging this guy to plead for forgiveness. Peter Shilton has been demanding a personal apology, and Maradona instead says this.
I never apologise to anyone. Besides, I don't have to apologise for making a statement to England. For what? To please who? At 47, I think that apologising to the English is stupid.
See, when Conor McGregor does that, proudly refusing to back down, the British media celebrate it and drink it like a bottle of imported Israeli wine.
Oh, McGregor, what a legend!
But Henry didn't even own the villain role. Instead, he spent that autumn whining and complaining about the persecution in the media. Christ above, I recently watched that Nicholas Anelka documentary on Netflix. Half the thing was devoted to sticking up for poor Henry. When he gets asked about it, he doesn't play up to the role of the bad guy. No, instead he looks like he's about to burst into tears. If you're going to be the bad guy like Maradona. Chest puffed out, look your opponent in the eye and say, yeah, I cheated. So what? But Henry, I don't think he's ever even admitted to it. It's just excuses.
Oh, it was my natural instinct. Please don't hate me.
Christ above, he owned this level of cheating like a wet spoon of petit falou. Maradona owned the role of villain as if he was Al Pacino. Henry owned the role of the villain as if he was Michael Cera. Today I listened to a Peter Shilton interview when he was invited onto Good Morning Britain to share a glowing tribute, and he mentioned the word cheat about 6 goddamn times. But lads, of all the footballers you could have dragged onto a morning breakfast show to pay tribute to Maradona, why did you pick the most bitter member of that England squad? Cause here's what he said in the past.
December 2013. What bothers me most is that Maradona never apologised. June 2014. England legend Shilton. Maradona lacked remorse after hand of God. May 2018. Not in my lifetime. Shilton will never forgive Maradona. June 2018. Peter Shilton mocks old adversary Diego Maradona after Argentina's lost to Croatia. God was looking down on me this morning, having watched the worst football Argentina has played in the World Cup on the eve before the anniversary of the Hand of God incident. June 2019. Peter Shilton swerves new Maradona film over World Cup Hand of God goal. January 2020. Peter Shilton. Maradona's the greatest player in history, but I don't respect him. Heard that Maradona is due over in June. I'd be interested to know everyone's thought on should I accept an invite to meet. I know how I feel, but what do you think? My biggest debate to date.
I like the dramatics of adding 3 exclamation marks in this tweet. Guys, it makes it sound like he's a child asking his parents whether or not it's safe to go and meet the grown man he's been talking to in an internet chat room. Gee, there was even a national poll in a newspaper about whether one adult man should meet another adult man who once punched the ball into a net over 30 years ago. You'd swear this was a poll asking whether or not they were going to fight each other in a celebrity boxing match? No, it's just asking whether 2 middle-aged men want to meet. Lads, if Nelson Mandela can stand in the same room as the same lads who sentenced him to over 20 years in jail, I think you can stand next to a guy who once jumped a little bit higher than you.
Just for clarity, I declined the invitation to go to the Maradona premiere Monday night along with several England ex-players. We were playing darts.
Jeez, well thanks for the update. Not sure I'd have been able to sleep otherwise. For most people there's about 4 or 5 important dates on the calendar. You know, family birthdays, religious holidays, wedding anniversaries. But for Shilton, I wouldn't be surprised if he spent every June 24th tucked up in bed and crying into a bowl of Weedos. Inviting this guy onto a show to talk about Maradona Maradona. It's like inviting Anton Ferdinand to make a speech at John Terry's wedding. What did you think he was gonna say? Praise above, Shilton was briefly trending #1 on Twitter this morning, but not the first time Maradona has leapt over him. Yes, alright, even today, the very thought of Thierry Henry's face causes me stomach cramps, but I promise you, if he is hit by a bus tomorrow, you're not gonna see me release a video whining about his lack of apology. No, just show respect to a great player, which Henry was, which Maradona was. Peter Shilton, get over it. There's a lot to be said for good sportsmanship, yes, but there's also a lot to be said for letting 30 years of tension just erode. And just forgive a man who's passed away at 60. Andre Villas-Boas is a strange cat. He's come out with this golden nugget that number 10 shirt should now be retired.
Maradona, yes, it is tough news. I would like FIFA to retire the number 10 shirt in all competitions for all teams.
So I guess that means Lionel Messi will have to find a new number. I immensely respect the legend of Maradona, but I can only assume AVP just spent last night drinking vodka out of a Digimon lunchbox. Yes, he means well, but Christ above, this is so over the top. Because what sort of precedent does this set? When Boris Johnson one day ascends into the clouds, do we all suddenly start combing our hair with a knife and fork in tribute? When Adele one day passes away, does everyone suddenly stop writing whiny love songs about their ex? Because if so, Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift are probably gonna have to start selling couches to IKEA. Yes, Maradona was a legend, but he did not create the number 10 shirt. Are we forgetting the likes of Pele won 3 World Cups with that number on his back, and all before Maradona's 10th birthday party? Maradona is an utter legend, and yes, Napoli. Name your stadium after. Argentina, erect a few more statues in Buenos Aires. But this, it's a bit over the top.
It'll be the best homage we could do for him. He's an incredible loss for the world of football.
No, the best homage for Diego Maradona already exists in the form of Lionel Messi. He is the modern day reincarnation of Maradona. Listen, the footballing world should rightfully mourn the passing of Maradona, but maybe we should also learn to show more appreciation for the modern day Maradona while we still have him. Messi clearly idolized Diego, sculpted and molded his game on the genius of the Argentinian phenomenon. Without Maradona, there is no Messi. To the younger generation, please just sit down this weekend and watch Messi. He's 33 and he only has what, 4 years left? And then he's gone. And then we'll be writing tributes about this man in 50 years. I was too young to watch Maradona play. In my lifetime, it's just been controversy, failed managerial regimes, dramatic weight fluctuations, and obscene gestures. Honestly, if YouTube or DVD footage wasn't a thing, I'd have assumed this guy was the 80s version of Adult Tourette, which is a disgrace. I've seen documentaries and YouTube clips, but it's frustrating to have never been able to truly appreciate and watch one of the greatest maestros of football live in the flesh. So lad, appreciate Messi. Stop relishing his international failure. Stop those never-ending comparisons with Ronaldo on the internet. Just appreciate the talent. He is the modern-day representation of Maradona. So the perfect homage to Diego, it isn't to deny the world of number 10 shirts. It's to allow his spiritual heir to the throne to flourish and captivate modern audiences, wearing the number that was so iconic to his footballing inspiration. The physical embodiment of Maradona, he might have ascended into the clouds, but make no mistake about it, his footballing soul lives on, and it lives on in Messi. Rest in peace, Diego Maradona. But the fitting tributes for you aren't the ones with the hand of God splashed across the front page. No, there is no more fitting tribute to your legend than the existence of Lionel Messi. Anyway, that's the end of it, lads. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk shit in a while. I actually said that last bit quite slow.